Hello team, today's challenge is 5 dice, where we're given the results of rolling 5 dice, and we need to determine which kind of hand or result we've gotten from that. This is not the first time that we've seen this challenge. In fact, the first time was back in May 30th, where we had best hand. In that case, we were dealing with the values of cards. We also had to deal with suits, but very much the same, where we had all these different kinds of playing card hands, and we needed to determine the result. For that, we used a class. In fact, we used some static methods. So you'll see down here where we had poker and we weren't passing anything to the constructor, and then we just accessed a method directly on poker, right? That method looped through all of our lookup stuff up here, which called all of these different private methods, or if there was no result, then it was just high card, right? At which point we had to account for things like the different values of cards, and we parsed it all out and did some stuff. We're going to do much the same stuff. But this time around, I'm going to change it up just a little bit and use a regular class. So no more static methods, all just regular class methods, okay? So with that, we're back here, and my first thing is to create that class, which I have already taken the liberty of doing. So it's class of dice, and we have our lookup, right? Again, I went from highest to lowest. We don't have to account for flushes here, just the different pairings and these large and small straights, right? And we return no pair if there's no pair. There is no high card this time, right? It doesn't make any sense. So with that, we can call it directly. Let's go down here, do all the work for the function where it is new, spell it right, new, capital D dice, and we toss in dice, and then we do a get rank, okay? And you'll notice that we flipped it around. So whereas over here, if we scroll down and look at it, again, we didn't pass anything to the constructor. We passed everything to the method. Well, this time around, we pass everything to the constructor and nothing to the method. Okay, so we definitely need the constructor, which means we should do that. Constructor, just like this, tossing in dice and doing the thing. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to do everything inside of this method right here, this function, this method, called parse cards, right? We are going to get our counts and then do some sorting and store it, right? We aren't going to return it this time. We're just going to store it because we're instantiating the class, which means that we can maintain an internal state, right? Other things that we don't have to do, we don't have to capture suits, so a lot of that work goes away. The values are already contained inside of the dice themselves. So all we really need to do is sort those, right? Which means that we really just need to sort out the counts and do some sorting, okay? Some of these names will change. Let's take a look at that back over here. So right here, I'm going to go this dot counts, okay? This dot counts is going to be the dice dot reduce, okay? Inside of here, we pass in the accumulator and the current value, sorry, the accumulator and the current value, right? And then we send it into our callback, and our default value is an empty object. We don't need to worry about all those other things, so we don't need to set anything else up in here. We're just doing a group by, right? We're doing a manual group by is what we're doing. So we have the accumulator and the current. We're going to set that equal to the current value of accumulator current plus 1. Now there's a chance that accumulator current doesn't exist yet because it's an empty object, right? So what we need to do is we need to set this equal to a default value of 0. And then just to remind everyone, we should always return the accumulator, right? From there, we can set this dot values, just like this, equal to what? Well, it's going to be scrolling down, making sure that my notes are accurate, but object dot values, okay? Object of dot values takes in this dot counts, right? because we only really care about the values. The counts are the faces of the dice, right? We aren't too worried about that. We just want to know what our counts were. And then from there, we sort. And what are we sorting on? Well, it's going to be A and B, and we are sorting highest to lowest. So B minus A, okay? That's the values. Then this dot dice for something different. We're going to take the dice that are currently here and feed them into two sorted. Okay, two sorted takes all the same values, so A and B, but this time we are sorting from lowest to highest. And this dot dice will be how we check the straights, right? The runs. So right here, the arrow function, and we go A minus B, okay? So with that, we have our values and we have our dice, and we can do all that work, right? What do we need to do next? We need to get the rank, right? So that goes down here. We get rank. We don't need to pass anything into it. And we only really need the for loop, right? So if we go back to this, we scroll down to wherever that was, we call it get hand. We just really need this for loop. And it will be exactly the same as this, except that the lookup name will change. So we could take that, bring it on over. We have the for loop. We let name and test of not hands lookup, but rank lookup. Okay, look up just like this. And then we call test. But when we destructure, we lose sight of the this keyword. Okay, so in order to make this work properly inside of this function, we need to use .call test. Now we aren't passing any arguments. We can get rid of that. But test.call this. If this is true, then return the name, right? That's the whole get rank. From there, we just start to build out all of our different pairings and our straight tests, right? So right here we have this. We're gonna go and grab it. I don't actually need this keyword. I just need everything from the hash to the end, kind of like this. So copying that, bringing it down, putting it under. It can actually go above if you'd prefer that. The method order doesn't really matter, okay? But we're gonna do all of this. It loses sight of my multi-cursor stuff. So going back in and doing it, okay? Again, we don't pass any arguments into this, but we should always return something. So for now, we're just gonna return true, just so that nothing really breaks. Like none of our tests will pass, but at least we have something there, okay? And then creating a little bit of space just so that we have it all. That should do it, okay? To make this a little bit easier for me, I'm going to grab these two and I'm going to move them to the bottom. We're going to take care of those in a little while because getting the pairings is the easiest part of this, okay? We've already got, right up here, we've already got the values, right? So we just need to get the first index value and see if it has a certain number of, see if it equals a certain number. That's the whole thing. So right here, we return this dot values of 0 and set it equal to what? Well, set it equal to 5, right? That's what it should be, 5 of kind. If the biggest value in values is 5, then we have it, right? We can grab all of this, do the same down here. So returning, but this one should be a 4. 3 of a kind, very much the same. Jumping ahead a little bit, this should be a 3. The pair, right? Same thing. Pair. Getting rid of this, it's 2. Great. Full house. If you remember, we jump back over here for just a second. We find full house was, again, those values of 0, which equal 3, and the values for 1 equal 2. Exactly the same thing here. The only thing that changes is where we're getting that value from, okay? So again, this dot values 0 should be 3. And if we go here, grabbing all of this, because copy and pasting is okay, right? There's nothing wrong with it. So this dot values 1 should be 2, right? Grabbing all of that, bringing it down to the pairs, pasting it in, Everything's jumping around now. Come on, don't be silly. There we go. Oh, it's all bumping around because I'm doing stuff, but that's okay. There we go. So for the pairs, it should be 0 equals 2 and 1 equals 2, right? And that should do it. I actually want to put these on a single line because that feels a little bit better to me. In this case, it fits on a single line, so I'm going to leave it as a single line. That way it's just easier to scroll, and you can see that it very nicely lines up. So 5s and 4s and the 3s and the 2s, right? They're all there. They're all really, really good. Now for the is small straight, is large straight, okay? I'm going to create a helper method called is straight, okay? And we're going to toss in the series as an argument like this. And this is going to be very much like our function right here. Where is it hiding? I thought I had it. Is straight. There, okay? So we bring in our values, right? And we check for every to see if it matches this test. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff. This was just for the ace, right? But we can take care of this, okay? In very much the same way using this every, okay? So back to our code, we're going to do exactly that. We are going to return series dot every. And inside of this every, we're going to have our arguments, right? What are our arguments? Well, it's the value, it's the index, it is the array, right? And then into our callback, we return index equals 0. So if it's the first, we just return it. There's nothing to test against. Or value equals, come on, do it right, array index -1. So we're getting the previous index and we are adding 1 to it, okay? This -1 is inside of the brackets. This +1 is outside of the brackets because this is getting the value at this index and adding 1 to it, okay? At which point we can use this. So is small straight, we go down here, we return what? Well, this dot is straight, just like this, and we're tossing in this dot dice, right? This dot dice, and we are going to slice from 0 to -1, okay? Or we're going to check and do the same thing. So right here, this dot, doing it right, is straight, just like this. If I could type, this dot dice dot slice, it's a bit of a mouthful, from 1 to the end. Really, now that I'm thinking about it, there should be a check in here to make sure that we actually have 5 dice, right? Because 0 to -1, that could still be a run. Like if it's just 2, 3 as an example. Thankfully, we only pass in 5 dice and we sort it on 5 dice. So it should be accurate. But if we needed to, we could very quickly update this to work with that, okay? The final step, bringing it home, we are going to take this one right here, paste it in, but instead of the slice, we're just sending in all of the dice because in theory we only get 5. So it should just work, and it absolutely does, okay? Adding a little space because I like that, cleaning it up, excellent. So to bring it home, the last time we used a lot of static methods, right, with the best hand, but for this one, for 5 dice, we used a constructor instead, and we did all the work in the constructor, and then we just ran through a loop right here and tested to see which items in that that were created from that constructor line up, right? So making sure the values of 5 or 4 or 3 and 2 or 3, whatever it is, all the way down to the straights, right? A little bit of a helper function here, but the straights, and again, because it is modular, because we built out all these methods, if I really, really wanted to, right, I could actually add in another condition. So I could go here, wrapping this up like this. Come on, wrap it up. Nope, I did it wrong. Here we go. There it is. And I could go this dot dice dot what? Dot length, right? Just like this, equals 5, and it should still work, right? So I can very quickly build onto this if I recognize that I might be missing edge cases, right? Very easy to do. That's it. A bit of a long one today, but hopefully this is all making sense, especially with building it as a class to make it a little bit more functional. We protected it using the hash, right? That makes these methods private so that you can't access them from outside of the class, right? Very helpful stuff. And again, very, very similar to that previous challenge. So if you haven't done that one, you are pretty much, I would say 60% of the way there. You need to worry about the flush and the stuff like that, but it's all there. Again, not every solution, just hopefully one good solution. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you go a different way? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments. Otherwise, today this has been 5 Dice, and I will see you tomorrow.